Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy to be here again today. It's another beautiful day. We are live with you. I know that all of you have been waiting for
All
us.
right.
All of us are really excited
Good
to
evening, good
actually share a few things that we have today with you. I know that we have come up with some brains. We have come to your side with the gospel last week. And today I have some amazing and wonderful people to actually share with you. I know that all of you have been, truly waiting to hear more about the gospel and how it's really important. And so if you just tune in on trinityradio.ca or YouTube Trinity Media Official, we want to really welcome you for joining us this wonderful evening. Today, our topic is really amazing, is really fantastic, and I want to get straight into it because we don't have much time today. Today, I have with me wonderful people. I have my good friends, scholars, PhD holders. Some of them are scientific researchers. Some of them are theologians, and so I'm sure and excited that today it's going to be a good time. So I'm just going to introduce my panel members to you today. I will let them actually introduce themselves, but I'll ask them a few questions in the form of our introduction today. And so I'm going to go to what we always say, ladies first. And so I'm going to go straight to someone called Noreen. Hello, Noreen. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, Kenneth. Hi, everyone. So my name is Norine Ramile Moise. Um,
Okay.
I speak French. It's my first language. That's why I have like a French sounding name. But for the English speakers, I usually say Noreen Moise. I am currently taking religious studies at Birmingham University. And yes, I'm so happy to be here. And thank you, Kenneth, for inviting me.
All right, great, great. Thank you. So for all those of you who really want to learn French, you got to, hit like out to Noreen, and Noreen would definitely take you through. Let me go to this wonderful man. Some people always say that those people who are smart are those who are wearing glasses. I don't have glasses today. I would have actually put it on because all of you are wearing some glasses. Mr. Z, tell us who you are.
So my name is Zebedee Odongo. I am a fourth year biology major at Birmingham University. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is actually my last semester. And after that, I'll be going off for medicine. But yeah, I came from Kenya. That's where I was born. And
Okay.
mm,
Cool, 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 cool. Zebedee, I want to ask you one question. Why do you wear glasses?
I wear glasses because I don't have 20/20 vision. So
Oh,
I'm blind.
but but we're in 2020. Don't you have 2020 vision?
Well, I wish I had 20/20 vision, but sad to say, my eyes, didn't work out that way.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna go to the youngest guy we have in our midst, Mr. Young. Tell us a little bit about you.
All right. My name is Sean Young, and I'm actually the oldest person here. But because my name is Sean Young, uh, I will be forever young. Uh, my name is basically Sean Paul Young, and I'm in my fourth year at Birmingham University. I'm taking religious studies as well, and I have a wife and three children, and I'm looking forward to see where God will lead me through this religious studies program. So
Okay.
that's a bit about me. I'll be glad to share more as we go along.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. So, for those of you who just joined, this is my panel members for today. They are wonderful people. They're all smart and they are here with the Holy Spirit to bless us on this topic. So, before you guys actually get yourself ready and before we get into the exact questions that we have today, and I know that our audience have a lot of questions for you. I have actually got a couple of them right when we were about to start because people heard about the topic and they were like, okay, let me see what all of you got. And so we will talk about it more. But I just want to give a quick shout out to all of those who are basically listening to us right now. I want them to know that we love them and we really appreciate that they are spending the time with us this hour. And so if they have any questions, they can please, if you're listening or watching, please send in your questions and we will be so glad to give you our best possible life experience and biblical answers to help you live a life of what God actually wants you to live. And so I also want to give a very wonderful thank you to the CEO of Trinity Radio. He's a wonderful man. He's a young old man who loves ministry. And in fact, if you think about her, he is more often dedicated to ministry. Even though he's old, he has built this radio program so that anyone who wants to speak the gospel in the context of the Seventh-day Adventist Church can come with no charges. And so for all of you, if any one of you want to do a program on, just connect with me and we will be able to do that. But this is one of the programs, the youth talk show, with the theme, what's the point? So let's get into our question today. I'm going to start with Noreen. Noreen, I know that you're excited about this topic, and I just want to go straight into it so that you won't miss any part of it. So last week we established that the gospel is basically the love of God and the manifestation through the sacrifices of Jesus Christ. That's the whole context that we grabbed from last week when Romando and Danelli and Teddy came on the show. And so today we want to dive a little bit deeper and ask the question, really, really an important question. How is the gospel relevant in 2020? Noreen.
Yes. How is the gospel relevant in 2020? I think the gospel is relevant in this day and age because of the way people live their lives. Just to say that everyone has a motive to live, right? People have a purpose. Some people believe in a higher power. And I believe that if you want to live a life of purpose, you need to know what you believe in. And some people, as myself, I choose to believe in the gospel, and I believe it's relevant because it gives me guidelines to how to live, values, a value system. It gives me stories about other people that have struggled. So that is how it's relevant to me, because of it shows me my purpose and values. So
okay, so the gospel shows you your purpose and values in 2020. I'm gonna go straight to Zebedee. Zebedee, tell me, how is the gospel relevant at Burman University in 2020, in the world, in Toronto, in Kenya, in the whole world? How is it really relevant? Tell me.
For me, or for actually all human beings, I think the gospel is relevant, not just for 2020, but all of eternity, because as human beings, we have a sinful nature and a sinful condition. And with that being so, is we all sin. Like even I sin. There are some sins that I don't even want to share because they're that bad. And, like if I told people, then they might never be my friends, or they might all shun me, kind of thing. And the gospel is relevant because it tells us of a story of Christ, or a God who sees all the iniquities that we have done and we will even do in the future. And regardless of all those sinful acts that he's seen us perform and we will perform, he still loves us and he still chose to die for us, regardless. And so just that kind of love, it speaks volumes. So yeah, that's why I believe that in a world right now where like a lot of people are pursuing love, I think that is, that's why the gospel is relevant.
Okay, that's really, really important. Sean, what's your take on this question? Tell me.
This is my take on it. Back in Montreal, we had a store called Mr. Fix-It. And as long as things needed fixed, we needed a Mr. Fix-It in town. So since sin entered this world, we needed a savior. So from the beginning to the world, even now, as long as sin remains, we still need salvation. And that's what the gospel brings. So it's until sin is eradicated, the gospel is still needed because the world needs a savior. So in 2020, we still need a savior because sin is still around.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is the reason why the gospel is relevant in 2020 is because we still need a savior in 2020. Wow,
In
that's
2020, we still need a savior.
wow. That's profound. I thought the salvation was only relevant when Jesus Christ came on this planet. But thank you for opening up the light to all our listeners and viewers. I know that most of us listening today might probably think that there's no way we should worry about having a relationship with Jesus, or even expecting the things that are happening in the world to happen. But as all of you have shared, I think is really important. Some of our viewers and listeners are sending in questions, and I'm actually going to read some of them to you. But I want to go straight to my next question because I'm excited about this question. I love, personal experience and how it's really relevant to us today. So my next question is, why do you care about the gospel today? I know it's sort of like closer to knowing that salvation is relevant in 2020, but why do you care at all? Is there anything you need to really worry about knowing that the gospel is relevant today? Zebedee, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so just to reiterate the question, it's you're asking why do I personally care about the gospel, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for me personally, I care about the gospel because um for me it just demonstrates unconditional love,
Mm-hmm.
and just realizing that God didn't care about the sins that I've committed or will commit,
Mm-hmm.
it has brought like a transformational change in my life kind of thing. Actually, recently, where I got a eureka moment where it was like, if God didn't care about my sins and saw me for who I am and wanted me to be with him in heaven, so
Mm-hmm.
why should I personally care about the sins of others or their iniquities? I
Mm-hmm.
should be showing them love because that is what God, showed me first. And until that hit me, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna, you know, like hang out with these people just because, they're because of XYZ. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm rethinking about like even my actions, like, am I really showing that love that Christ showed me, that he
Mm-hmm.
didn't care about like the evil that was within me. He saw the good within me, and that's what he decided to focus on. So that's why, you know, the gospel is, impacting my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. I love it. I was just writing things down as you were speaking, and I have questions for you based on what you were speaking, like what you were saying, but I'll come back to you later. Sean, I want to come back to you. Tell me, like, why do you care literally about the gospel?
For me, why I care about the gospel is because the gospel is a process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And why I say it's a process is because God has started the plan of transforming my life.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I have been saved and in his care for a long time now, I'm still not 100% transformed. So
Mm-hmm.
as long as I'm still in transformation, I still need a savior. So that's why the gospel is not a one-time thing. You're not just, there you go, you got Jesus today, you're good, you don't need him anymore. It's a process and it takes time. So even now, when I look back, I'm no longer where I was, but there's still some areas that God still needs to work out in me. So I'm still in transformation. Just like I spoke before about the Mr. Fix It.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he might bring something to fix, and then it still gets broken again, some other part that he needs to fix again. So that's how the gospel works in my life. God is still fixing areas in my life that still needs to be worked out. So it's very relevant and very necessary for me at this time.
Good. Good. Thanks. Thank you for sharing. Noreen, share with us.
Yes. So I think the gospel is important, and I care about the gospel because it cares for me back, right? This past summer, I took the time to read the book of Luke, and it talks about the life of Jesus, who
Mm-hmm.
was born in an underdog kind of like he was an underdog in his society. He wasn't really looked upon as you know as that big of a deal, and time and time again, the rabbis and the priests tried to put him down. And in today's society, I find myself in this position. Like, I'm never not going to be a black woman that's going to be like oppressed upon and to be seen as an underdog. So the gospel cares about me So of course I need to care about the gospel because it speaks of someone who was me back in his days. So
Wow, wow. So that's really interesting. The gospel cares about me. Therefore, I need to care about the gospel too. That's a whole respect and love in it context. And I love to hear that. Anyone want to add something to this question? If you want to add something, I know Sean really want to add a point. Sean, I'm coming to you. Anything that you wanted to add that you didn't get to add, just add it to the point before we move on.
Okay, guys, the fact that Noreen says that the gospel cares for us, it should be an eye opener. So for those who are listening and you are looking for someone to care for you, that is the point that should be taken away. The
Mm,
gospel cares for you. It's just waiting for us to get that awakening that yes, there is hope, there's salvation, there is something that is seeking me to
mm.
change me, to help me. So that's what I would like to add to that. That's a perfect point, Noreen. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to go to Zebedee. Someone just brought in a question. I want to clear that off quick. I know I was going to ask you a personal question on what you were saying, but someone actually brought a question which is similar to what I was thinking. And the
Okay.
question is, um, like, the gospel is really important, as
Mhm.
all of you have been saying. How do you relate to the gospel knowing that people who talk about the gospel are not nice?
Like, okay. I think we have to realize that all humans are sinful human beings. I also lack, you know, I've noticed actually during this pandemic, I've noticed um the little or actually the major flaws within my character, you know. So it's been like a transformational thing where I'm like realizing, okay, this thing about Zebedee is not the best trait. And if anybody's listening to this and I've hurt them, I'm sorry for my, my actions. But we have to realize that all human beings are sinful.
Mm,
But even though we're sinful, I believe the gospel is impactful because it speaks volumes. Just because God chooses to use us who are sinful human beings to portray his image. And just seeing like that someone, for example, like Paul, who was like a murderer, and persecuted the church, transform into this uh minister, the big preacher that he became
mm,
is something that's, great to uphold. And that's what the gospel is. It's not going to God does not choose the people who are qualified, he qualifies the chosen. And as Sean said as well, is that the gospel is a transformational thing. So someone can know this much, but then at the end of their lifetime, they can realize that the gospel wasn't just basically a little thing, but it was like a big thing. And I think that's what we will be spending eternity just learning
mm.
about God's character and the gospel itself. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Noreen, you want to add something to the question in light of what was being asked, and then I'll come to Sean.
sure, I can share something. I really appreciate what Zebedee said about everyone being sinful beings. And I think that's what contrasts with the gospel even more. The gospel speaks of someone who was just not sinful, who came to the earth because of us, right? And so when you're reading the gospel, let's say someone said a bad person, quote unquote, speaks of the gospel. You listen to them, and you're like, well, they're a bad person, talking to me about the gospel. Like, what does that keep that person to themselves and keep the gospel to itself, right? In so many areas of our life, we don't tend to like mingle things together, but for some reason, we tend to always trying to place ourselves in the gospel, that person on the gospel, that thing I heard. Let the gospel speak for itself, and it will reveal to you as not being whoever that person is, basically.
Wow. Sean?
Yeah, so I like what Noreen is saying. Is basically based on people's actions, we judge the gospel. But the
Hmm.
gospel is not people's action. The gospel is at work to transform people's actions. So
Okay.
if we just look at people's actions and say that's the gospel, it's totally not what it is. The gospel is trying to transform even my actions, what I was before the gospel and what I am now that I have the gospel is two different things. It's
Mm,
like a full 360, and that's what the gospel is capable of doing. So we need help. We need that transformation, and the gospel is what provides us the step-to-step process in that transformation. So thank you, Noreen, for sharing that.
okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Sean, for sharing that insight. That was really important. I'm going to go to my next question. And after this question, we will take a short break and then come back. There are a couple of comments that are coming through our TuneIn live stream where we have a TuneIn. TuneIn is a way where people listen to radio stations and people get to comment and write posts on what they hear. And people are saying that's a great topic that you guys are discussing. And so we really appreciate what you're doing. Someone is saying that, wow, I never knew that there was a gospel like this. And others are also saying, in fact, you guys are doing great. This is from Samuel. Samuel, probably some of you might probably know this Samuel. This is not Samuel Kasiapia, it's Samuel somewhere. I don't know. And then Abigail actually listening from Australia. What time is Australia right now? Is saying that, thank you guys. This is a great program. Okay, so I'm going to go to my question, which I love. I don't want to miss this question because it's really important to me. So this question is, what do you do to show your gratitude to the presence of the gospel in your life? What do you do to show your gratitude to the presence of the gospel in your life? I'm going to start with Noreen. Noreen have some points to share with us.
Yes. I think something that I do, which I don't have a choice, out of love for the gospel and out of love for Jesus, is to live it out, to be the sermon. I think through doing ministry to other people, coming through for my friends, for the needy, is how I show my gratitude to the gospel, which is lacking. Like, it's not perfect. It's never going to be like to the fullness of what I wish I could do. And that is where, once again, the gospel comes through. Jesus comes through and just meets you where you are at in your good deeds, in what you want to do to give back. So.
Okay. Quick on that, Zebedee, and then I'll go to Sean.
Um, yeah, for me, how I show my gratitude to the gospel is, as Noreen said, try to live it out, you know. So whatever insight I have, I try my best to live it out. Sometimes I do fail horribly, and other times, you know, I'm successful thanks to God's grace. But yeah, I just try to show a kind heart. So
Mhm.
if my friends need aid and I'm able to help them, then I, you know, stretch my hands to help and stuff like that. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Sean?
As for me, I try to share my testimony of what God is particularly doing in my life.
Mhm.
Because what I realize is many people may not know the gospel, but they may know me and care about me. So
Mm,
my life, my testimony is that bridge between them and the gospel until they're able to meet Jesus for themselves. So I share my testimony as much as possible. And like the other says, I try to live it out because people don't want to just hear the words. They want to see it in action and see that these victories are possible. So if somebody is struggling with something and I have found victory in it, I will share my victory and show them that it's possible to receive that victory. And that for me, if somebody's telling me they found victory with something I'm struggling, that's gold for me because now I know it is a possibility that someone has overcome. So then I can overcome it too. So that's what I do.
okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So we're going to go on a short break for about 2 minutes, and then we will come back and take some questions from our audience. And as we go on, I am so excited and intrigued about what all of you are sharing. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for what you've brought to the table so far. I am impressed. I am blessed. I am motivated. I don't know. I take the messages first before you go out there. And so I am so blessed. And thank you guys for putting all of these out there. We will take a short break. For our audience, just enjoy this wonderful song from some young people in Toronto. Please enjoy, and we will be right back with you.
You are he that is and is to come. You are Alpha, Omega. You're the first and the last, the Almighty God. Be thou glorified. You are he that is and is to come. You're Alpha, Omega. You're the first and the last, the Almighty God. Be thou glorified. So we lift our voices and say,
Amen.
Okay. So we are back. We are back. We want to say thank you for joining us and coming live on our program today. I know that all of you are so excited for the greater points that we have for you this afternoon. I am really excited about our next question. I'm really excited about the other things that we are going to talk about. I am actually excited about the other things, especially the questions that our viewers have actually brought to our studios here. And so we will dive deeper into them and just find out how we can really be more effective and be stronger Christian. And so I just want to take some of the questions that our listeners and viewers has actually brought out here. One of them is really important, and I just want us to discuss. And so, if you just join us, this is the Youth Talk Show. The topic for today is how is the gospel relevant in 2020 with the theme, what's the point? And so I know that you have been blessed. Meet us every Sunday, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss out on YouTube. And as we are bringing this to you, our goal is for you to know who Jesus is and be prepared to meet him when he comes again. We love you all, and we just want you to know that we are here to share the gospel with you just because we love you. And so I want to go straight to the question that I have, which people have brought in. We have a couple of minutes before our show ends. My question here is, which someone is asking, can I be in the church and not know the gospel? It's a great question. I love it. I really love it. And so I'm going to go to Sean, and then I'll go to Noreen, and then I'll go to Zebedee, and we will see what they got for us today.
All right, you can be in the church and say the question one more time. Can you be in the church and not be impacted by the gospel?
So the question is, can I be in the church and not know the gospel, knowing in the context of not having a personal relationship with the gospel, in the sense of just being in church?
Yes, you can be in the church going through the motions and not have the gospel impacting your life or even transforming your life. Because how the gospel works is there needs to be interaction. There needs to be a relationship between you and the gospel. It's like a painter who never paints. He has a canvas there, and paint is flying all over the place, but it's not hitting the canvas. The canvas is what is supposed to be impacted by the paint, and all the vivid colors and all the transformation is seen on the canvas. So if we are the canvas and we never interact with the paint, how would we ever see the beauty and the transformation and the vivid colors and the vivid scenes that can come out from this painting job? So we can be in the place, in the right place, but because we're not interacting, there's no substance going on, there's no transitions going on, then we will not receive the fullness of what is there for us.
Thanks for sharing. Noreen, your take on that question.
Yes, I agree. I agree with what Sean is saying about you need to have that personal relationship with the gospel. I believe it's you can know the gospel. Like you cannot grow up, you can go to church and hear about Jesus the first time you go to church. Like you can know about the gospel, but that's the thing, you know about it, but you don't know it. You don't know the gospel itself. The gospel is a relational thing. It's Jesus, it's his story. So you can have a head knowledge of the stories of Jesus. We all grew up, he fed the 5,000, the miracles, he walked on water. I mean, people that don't know Jesus know about the gospel, but do you know the gospel? Do you know it personally? So.
personal relationship. That's amazing. Personal relationship is the focus here. So Zebedee, I'm actually going to throw a question on you because they have broken the question here, which is with a deeper response. I love it. I love to hear it that way. So Zebedee, the question here is the gospel the only way to salvation? Theological question indeed. I know that, I told them from the beginning that we have some theologians and some PhD holders and some writers and some beautiful, amazing people. So the question here is really deep. The question is this: is the gospel the only way to salvation? Tell us, Zebedee.
So your question is the gospel the only way to salvation, right?
Yes.
Yes, I believe the gospel is the only way to salvation, because that's what Christ tells us. And it's just like, what you call it? I don't know how to not like an analogy to put my head around to describe it, but yes, the gospel is the only way to salvation. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna come to Sean, but before that, let me take Noreen. Noreen, what's your take on that question? Is the gospel the only way? This is a question that I'm sure that this person who asked the question is probably, I don't know, don't believe in the gospel. So let's help this audience.
I believe so. Is the gospel the only way to go to be led into salvation?
Yeah, to salvation.
Well, I believe so. Just because there wouldn't be any salvation if there was no gospel. The life of Jesus is what gave us the gift of salvation. And even, when Jesus was on the cross, and there was the two guys beside him, they were also on the cross, also living their last, the last moments. And one of them was like, Jesus, how can I be saved? Like, and then he was like, you will be saved today, right? And Jesus was dying right then and there, and he was telling him, you will be saved today, just because he believed in Jesus. So that's,
Yeah, Sean, your take on that.
My take on this is that salvation is a plan, but it's not only a plan, it's a specific plan. So if you want to be part of this salvation, there's maybe other people say there's other roads to salvation, but if you want this specific salvation, you have to follow this specific plan, because it's an actual plan. It's a way of that God has written to deliver his people. There's other theories out there, but if it doesn't go according to this plan, it is not this plan, it is that plan. So if you want to be part of this plan, you have to follow the things that are outlined in this plan, so you can receive this blessing that this plan speaks to. All right, so that's my take on it.
Word, thank you. I love it. I love it. I love to hear it that way. So all of you have actually broke it down, and the question was so critical that the person said, like the person just said, is the gospel the only way to salvation? I was so glad that the person did not ask, is the gospel the only way to heaven? And I don't know if those two questions are if those two questions are different, but I think my little and thing that I want to add to it is, the gospel is so relevant and it's so powerful that it changes life. And so if you get to know the gospel will change your life. And as we have established about how God loved us so much that he gave his son to come in and die for us, which in its full essence being the gospel, if you accept God's love and how he saves us, that alone changes you. And so I think the gospel is what leads to salvation, and we should be open to actually accept this amazing gospel. Thank you guys for sharing this. We are going to go to this question. Zebedee, go for it.
Yeah. Just to reiterate an answer, it's just John 14:6 says, Jesus said to him, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory through Jesus's mouth that salvation can only be achieved through the gospel, because he was the sacrifice. And even like the Old Testament or even the New Testament, all of this pointing to Christ and his death. And that's what gives us salvation. So yeah, so that's
All right.
my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Zebedee. Thank you. So we have about 10 minutes to go. I know all of you have so much information you want to share with us today, but let's take one question from our audience and I'll read some other comments that are coming through tuning so that we can also get ourselves motivated. So the third question that I have here, which one of the audience asked, is how do I serve as a follower of Christ? I'm sure that this question is pretty much open, and maybe you can share your personal experience of how you have served as a follower of Christ. So I'm going to start with Sean, and I'll go to Zebedee, and then I'll come to Noreen.
All right, for me personally, uh, I would say how you would serve is based on your spiritual gifts. Everybody's gifted with a gift. Not every gift is the same, but when it comes together, it gets the work accomplished. Like one of the sayings that I say all the time, teamwork makes a dream work. But not everybody is the foot, not everybody is the hand. We know that scenario already. So for me, I serve in the capacity what God has called me to do. My gifts are speaking, my gifts are encouraging. So on a daily basis, I would try to find out people that I can encourage. I can speak some words of wisdom and share the gospel in those manners. If your gift is helping, then find someone to help. If your gift is something else, whatever your gift, your particular gift may be, do that and do it to the best of your ability. That's
Do it to the best of your ability. I love it. I love to hear it. Zebedee, and then we'll go to Noreen.
Yeah, I like to. I agree with Sean on that. Everybody has been given a unique talent. For me, my talent is not the same as Sean. I don't personally enjoy speaking. You know, I just don't. I can't do that. Um, and even for Noreen, her talent is spoken word, and I'm just not, given that talent. But we need to find our own talents that the Lord has given us, even though it might be one single talent. We just need to put it into the greatest use and just reach whoever we can reach, if it's our next door neighbor or even our siblings or even our wives. So just use the talents that you have. And yeah.
Okay. Noreen, your take on that.
Yes, I appreciate the answer of using your gifts and your talent. And just to like fill it up, like fill the end of that statement, is to use them up where they're needed. Because I think in Christianity, there's a lot of places that we use our talents and that place does not need that specific talent. You know, there are people that do not want to hear the gospel through spoken word, but they need a meal, and you have been provided with the financial means. So just use your talent, your gifts where they are needed. And it's not difficult to get to know where you will be needed.
Hmm. Wow, wow, wow. I like the fact that you only brought in, and like I just thought about this, that some people actually have the gift of cooking too. And they can bless people with some amazing meal. I heard that Noreen is the greatest cook in the whole theology department, the year group 2017. And I was like, whoa, okay, Noreen got to make some, Haitian cherry. Is that right? Make, I don't know what I said, man. So yeah, we should all use all those gifts and whatever ways that we can, just to serve people out there. And I think that's the best way. I just want to give a quick shout out to some of our viewers from YouTube. I see Diego, I see Teddy, and I see a couple of people like Universal Empress. And I know so many people are watching. If we can't see you, we just want to let you know that we appreciate you and we love you, and we are so excited that you're here with us. Diego actually said in a question, and I know that Diego is a scholar, and so he wanna put all of you guys on the, yeah. And so his question is, how universal, quote unquote, is the gospel message? How universal is the gospel message? The word universal is in quotations, or baby quotations, I would say. Noreen, I'm gonna come to you. How universal is the gospel message? Tell us, tell us, tell us, tell us, tell us.
Universal. If you could expand on the statement, the term universal.
Okay, maybe Diego can help us with what he meant by universal, but let's say how broad or how open is the gospel message to the whole world? I would say I would take it like that. If I'm not correct, Diego, please correct me.
Okay. So I would say it's just universal. It goes throughout the world. Go ye therefore and preach to all the nations. Right. That is the command that Jesus has told his disciples and
Mm,
us, in the end times is to go in all generations to preach the gospel that we know. So
okay. That's how universal it is. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to go to our next quick question, but before we do that, I just want to go on a short break. And when we come back from the break, we are actually going to take some questions and some comments from our audience. I know that all of us have some great thoughts that we want to share, and I'm so excited. We have about 5 minutes to go, but we're going to take a short break. When we come back from this short break, then we'll continue with our few things that we have. And so just stay with us and just enjoy this tune as we come back with you. All that you've done for me. Sing it out if you know it. Who brings our chaos back into order? Who makes the open a son and daughter? The King of Glory, the King of Glory, who rules the nation with truth and justice, shine like the sun and all of its brilliance. The King of Glory, the King above all kings. Oh, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would never cross. Oh, you laid down your life. That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was Okay. Worthy is the man who was slain. That's part of the gospel too. So, okay, we have a few minutes to go. And Diego actually expanded on his question: is the gospel for all or only for those who accept it? Is the gospel for all or for only those who accept it? And so, Sean, you would take on that. And Teddy is also asking this question: how do you see the gospel in the Old Testament with God telling his people to kill and destroy other nations? This is a huge question. So we're going to take a few minutes to ponder upon those questions. And then, so all of us are going to comment on this question. So Teddy's question, we would expand a little bit on Diego's question, and then we will take a little bit on Teddy's question. But before we do that, it's really important that I read some people's comment. Some people are actually watching from the United States, Idaho. Bernice is saying that this is a great topic. Keep it up, and thank you for sharing this gospel to the whole world. This is Samuel. We are getting a lot of Samuel today. Samuel is saying that I know that this topic is hard to talk about, and I'm glad that young people like you are sharing the message to the whole world. So these are the two quick comments I want to read. So Sean, straight to you. Just a little bit on Diego's question: is the gospel for all, for only those who are accepted?
The gospel are for all, but not all are accepting it. But it is, as long as you are willing to accept it, you are willing to receive it.
Okay.
Short and sweet. It's for everyone.
Yeah. yeah. The gospel. I'm trying to quote Sean right here. Sean said the gospel is for everyone. Right? Finish it. That's how the spirit works. No, it just drops it and bomb. It just get away. No,
the gospel is for everyone,
Mhm.
but not everyone is accepting the gospel. But as long as you accept it, it is for you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. That's I guess I guess and I think and I believe this is the greatest answer I could ever hear on the show as we have our time almost running out. Zebedee, let's talk a little bit about Teddy's question. How do you see the gospel in the Old Testament with God telling His people to kill and destroy other nations?
Um, that's really a hard question to answer. There are indeed some cases where we personally don't know all the answers, but I think that's where faith comes in as well. Is
Mhm.
that we have to have faith that God is a benevolent God.
It's
and
5 o'clock.
and He is a loving God. And also, I've read somewhere, I think in the Bible, where it says that He gave certain people like a time period for them to turn back from the ways. Even you look at the case of Nineveh, God sent Jonah there to tell them, like, if you guys don't fix up, then you guys will be destroyed. And you see such examples such as that where God shows His grace and gives them an opportunity to turn back. But then with love, there comes an option of either accepting it or rejecting it. And a lot of times, we as human beings, we are inclined to reject it more often than not. And so I believe that is the case with a lot of these nations that God did tell the Israelites to wipe out. But then there's certain also certain exceptions to that rule. For example, Rahab, because of her faith in God and also her kindness to the Israelites, she was saved. And I believe if the people of those nations did cry out to the God of Israel, the God of all of us, then He will surely have shown them grace. But because they were stuck up in their sinful ways and they rejected Him, then that's where calamity fell on them.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Noreen, quick take on that question, and then we will conclude.
Yes, I agree with Zebedee. The more you get to have a relationship with God and with the gospel, the more you get to understand why things happen the way they did in the Bible. And you will be able to have your questions answered. And in the end, once we get to heaven, we'll be able to ask the man himself. So, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Oh, so we had the last question, but I realized that we have actually talked about it already. And so thank you guys so much for coming. I just want to say thank you for taking this time and coming in today and just sharing your greatest brains and wisdom and mindset. I was so blessed. I was so inspired. I was so moved. So I want to say thank you guys for coming in today. I really appreciate your time. I know that our viewers and our listeners has really been blessed. For all the people who joined us today, I want to say thank you. And I don't want you to go without giving a shout out to somebody. So I'm going to give you that time so you can give a shout out to somebody. But I just want to say for all those who are just watching, please join us next week at 4 p.m. Mountain Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And you are going to be blessed with a wonderful topic. Next week, we have something it started cooking today and it will be done cooking next week. And so you don't want to miss the actual food, which is coming up next week. So please don't miss it. Thank you so much for your time. Sean, who are you giving a shout out today?
My shout out is to Universal Empress. That was my sister who joined us. To the Greek scholars, to the Hebrew scholars, to everybody who's listening out there who needed to hear this message. Shout out to you for taking your time to listen into the gospel so that your lives may be transformed.
Thank you, Sean. Zebedee, your shout out to who?
My shout out is to Teddy Joseph and all the other people who, that put up all those questions. And also shout out to Jacques Moise, who I'm currently chilling with right now. So yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, Noreen, who are you giving a shout out to?
I would give a shout out to all of the listeners, especially the ones who are in Australia. I do not know what time it is, but it's very much appreciated to know that what you're sharing is going as far all around the world. So shout out to our international folk.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to all of you. All of you are amazing people, beautiful and handsome and gorgeous. And I don't know the other word. Teddy was supposed to give me more words last week, but he didn't send it. So I'll probably end it right here. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Our audience, we see you all next week. And I know that God will surely bless you as we meet again. Thank you and have a great and a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you.